Hi, and welcome back to another monthly market update. I'm Ryan Deeter with Key Realty. Thanks for joining today. It's actually still the month of August, so I'm actually going to do another round for the month of August. So August round 2 here. But the reason why is because I actually have July's data now available. Last month, I was really focused on June's data. But I want to do a deep dive into the July data today to kind of talk about what the market's doing. You may have heard by now, either from me or from other people, that the market's kind of shifting or slowing down, cooling off, whatever you want to call it. And I want to jump into really what's going on today from the July numbers, even though we don't have quite, the August numbers in the last few weeks have really changed quick, but I want to jump into that and just so you get an idea. Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen here on Zoom and we can just jump into the data. But before we do that, actually, I want to recap. If you haven't watched the last video, I encourage you to go back and watch it. But I also want to recap, kind of just overview what I was saying. Because if you've not been paying attention, things have slowed down a little bit this last year, 9 months before this month, the last 9 months or so have just been kind of crazy. Just to share a couple of stories real quick. I've had showings where when it comes to showing a house, realtors with COVID had to pick a date and time when they can see. We had 30-minute windows of when we can see a house with a buyer. And so we'd have to schedule that through a system. And there'd be times where, if you waited, if you waited a couple hours after a house went in the market, every slot for the 3 days was taken, and you didn't have a window to even show a house. I've seen houses like that. I've seen 10 to 20 offers on homes, and even more sometimes. I've had clients make offers of $50,000 to $75,000 over list price and not get a house. So just crazy stories, and you've probably heard some of your own about how crazy this market is. But this last month, we're stopped seeing what I would consider the craziness, and it's come back to a little bit more normalcy of maybe one buyer, two buyers per house. Still around list price, maybe just under at times, or just slightly over to get a house. And so we're seeing a little bit more normalcy. Conclusion: good news for buyers that you're not competing against 1,000 people and multiple offers. You may be able to get a house at list price or slightly under or just over, kind of depending on the house. Good news for sellers is that houses are still selling for top dollar. They're still selling for that higher percentage of what it was year over year. They're just starting out at that price essentially. So instead of starting out $50,000 less, they're starting out $50,000 more. Buyers are coming in and saying, okay, I'll pay list price for this. So hopefully that's helpful. But I want to jump into the numbers to kind of give you an idea of what the market's doing and kind of show you that. And I'll share my screen here. Bear with me. Here we go. All right, so this is actually the data that the Columbus Board of Realtors puts out for us. Move this over here monthly. So it's the monthly data they give us. And I've up here on the tabs, I have several months. I have, this is July 2021. So it's the most recent numbers we have right now. Again, August will come out mid to late September. So we'll talk about that when it comes. But the biggest thing most people want to jump into, and I even myself, I like to look at first thing is, okay, what is the average sale price? Where are we going here in Columbus? In 2020 in July, the average sale price was 278,000, 100,000 right there. And then now we're up to 1,300,000. So at just 12.8% change here. But that's we're getting pretty, it's pretty rapidly growing here, as most people probably know that already. But so it's 12% difference from from July to last July. But when it comes to appreciation, I do like, over here it has the year to date. So just this is helpful too. And if you want to see these numbers and kind of understand them moving forward as well, the year to date, I like to look at more of when it comes to percentage change, when it comes to average price point, to kind of give us an idea of what the appreciation is year to date. So we're looking at about 15.2. And yeah, so just to give us a reference there, June of last month, we saw 15.9, still growing. But with that said, is that the prices were a little bit less to begin with in June, compared to July. So, the number is still lower. Houses are still selling for more than they on average in June. In July of 2021, as they were in June 2021. So with that said, for sellers, that means that your house is still on average selling for more money. than it was. So pretty typical for that to happen. We're seeing here, but a higher percentage compared to last June here. So I hope this, don't get bogged down in the numbers too much. Just a quick glance here, but just kind of good to know, okay, where are we in comparison? But to understand the market too, some things I want to focus on is kind of to really understand how quickly things are going. I want to jump down to the days on market. And so we see here, so July 2021, days on market was roughly 11 days. So on average, or if you put a house in the market, it took 11 days to sell. Now this, again, I want to reference, this includes the whole Columbus metropolitan area. So several counties here, even places that you probably wouldn't consider Columbus necessarily, but it does encompass everything that Columbus Board of Realtors data that they have, and anyone that's a part of the Board of Realtors here in this area. So you can see the counties here. So it is a large swath of area, including very, up to really about an hour drive outside of Columbus is probably the best way to say it. So that's going to show, some of these areas that just don't, aren't quite as quick as, say, the immediate suburbs of Columbus, which has really taken off since COVID, since 2020. Really, those things are, those numbers are going to be a little skewed compared to this, but it's a good average, to say the least. So if you do want numbers based on your area and your neighborhood and market, I am more than happy always to go over those with you as well. So it's always good, and I can even send those to you if you prefer. But this, again, is just an overview. So with that said, we have 11 days in the market, which is, obviously a very quick turnaround here. So just a reference, let's go back. This is back, actually the numbers here, July 2020 and 2019. You can see here, I'm going to be jumping around to some numbers. I got all these tabs pulled up so I can jump around to some data points here and go back in time to show us the data. So 2020, we had 25 days and 23 days actually in 2019. So this is actually, Columbus has been in a seller's market. It's been a hot market even before the pandemic or COVID, whatever you want to call it there. But it really accelerated even more so, really about twice as much. Just houses selling twice as fast since the pandemic. So we see that there. Now, going back the last few months, I want to show you, June still had 11 days, June 2021, May 20, actually had more days on the market. Even going back to April, we saw 16 days on the market, and going all the way back to, I think this was January, we saw again about 25 days. So, pretty typical for things to be slower in January. As you see here in 2021, in January, we had 41 days. It's right middle of the winter. It's not the most enticing time to buy a house and move. So typically things do sit on the market a little bit longer that time of year in general. But then when spring hits, it speeds up. But we're seeing here in July, we actually are still seeing things just fly off the shelf essentially in July. So with that said, being boots on the ground in the market with buyers and sellers right now, I do think this number in August will be higher. Not quite, I can't guarantee how high, but I do think it'd be higher just from what I'm seeing and hearing and all that. We're seeing stuff to sit a little longer, and I think the reason for that is that the prices, we now have data showing that this is the average price point and that things have grown 12% year over, or 15% this last year. So people are now pricing things that high, and things are necessarily not selling quite as quick because things are priced higher, but they're still selling, as we'll see that. So I'll be interested to see when August comes out if how much this number has changed. Will be a big factor of, okay, what's going on in the market, and things like that. But another big factor, I think, I want to jump down to this number here, month supply of inventory. Now, I'm only really hitting a couple of these. What we made, if you want to know what these mean, all the other stuff, you want to go over that together, I'm always happy to do that. And I want to pick out just a couple just to show you, give you really a snapshot. I don't want to get you bogged down in all these numbers, but again, just a snapshot. So months supply of inventory I like to look at, because this kind of shows like how long it would take if no new houses on the market for those houses to sell. It would take 1 month, according to this data. But if you go back to June, again, June had it 0.8. So that was drastic, 23, 27%. We're down. Let's go up to May, 0.7%, 0.7. I don't know what that would make in a month, however many days that is. 0.6 in January. So just we had such, but the reason why is because we had such few houses in January for sale. So we had a lot of buyers still out there, and things were selling quick. So you see here, this is the closed sales in January. And these are the houses on the market. So there's actually more houses that were sold in the month of January that are actually in the market. So that means that, new inventories, new listings here. We did have new listings. Not all these are selling, of course, but new listings, are pretty close to numbers. So basically there's a 0.6 difference there in what it would take to sell that. Now jumping back to July, we see here the numbers compared to, January is a good indication that, houses sold, we have much more houses sold in January, much more, almost, is that more than double? Let's go back here. This January here. Yeah, almost double of the houses that have sold in January compared to July. Now 3,000 is still not a ton of houses. We still could use a lot more compared to the number of buyers, number of people in Columbus. So but we still see here the number of houses sold compared to the number of houses that are on the inventory in a 1 month supply. I've been told, kind of the data shows, or the experts say that a healthy market, not healthy or balanced market, would be a 6 month supply of inventory. So we're still a long ways away from that in July. One of the last things I want to chat about here is actually the new houses on the market here for July. We have seen an uptick from July to June, and even back over to, what is this, May. So we're starting to see an uptick a little bit. As you can see, there's June again, back to July, but not a drastic uptick. It's pretty normal for things to start, people start seeing what other people are getting for their houses, so they get the idea of selling. Not a huge drastic number, but a healthy number to kind of get the things going again. Again, it's going to help with the days on market, have a little bit more houses out there. The biggest conclusion I want to take away from this is that the numbers in July don't show anything that the market is going to all of a sudden just stop. That the market we've reached a breaking point. It's going to go backwards. Basically, what we're seeing is that things are still selling for top dollar. Things are still moving. People are still buying houses, and we have very few houses for sale still. So that's what kind of what we're showing, just based on the numbers. Now, again, we'll pay attention really closely from July to August to see what the difference is here. So stay tuned for the August version of this. But it's again, my biggest conclusion is that if you're a buyer, there may be opportunity out there, not as much competition, but you're still going to be paying a high price, a appreciated price, whatever that appreciation looks like compared to last year. And if you're a seller, you can still get top dollar for your house. You just won't have 1,000 people looking at it, which may not be the worst thing in the world. Just to give you a quick little guide here about prices. This is the median price point of kind of what the ebbs and flows are of the market throughout the year. You can kind of see things do peak midsummer, really late spring, early summer, and then do start to steady off, slow down. And we see all last year 2020, we saw some of that, just a little bit more of a curve, less drastic of a climb and drop there. But you're seeing here, we're seeing a huge spike this year, since January, a huge spike, and it's kind of leveling off. So it's kind of where we are. I kind of think it's going to level off, maybe dip just a little bit and go back up again in the spring to more of these kind of ranges here in the 16 to 18 kind of windows. Is kind of what I predict is going to happen near the future. So again, I hope this is helpful. I'll bring my screen back up here if I can remember how. There we go. All right. Well, thank you for joining again. And if you want to talk more about your situation with me, I'm more than happy to do that. No matter where you are in the process, happy to talk about the numbers. Or if you want more numbers for your neighborhood, happy to give those to you. But we'd love to chat with you. I hope you find this is helpful. And if you have any questions, please leave me an email. My email is ryandeeterrealtor@gmail.com. And look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.